Hello and welcome back to the Ruslan Belov channel. The fighting on the front continues, and we are continuing to analyze the situation. Let's move to the map. So friends, today we'll have a very interesting breakdown of the front lines, because there have been many advances. Over the past 24 hours, more than 30 square kilometers have come under Russian control. The Ukrainian armed forces continue to collapse on the eastern flank of Mirnograd. We made an almost 9-kilometer push there, and stormed into an urban-type settlement that serves as the last stronghold of the Ukrainian defense, protecting Mirnograd from the east. Things are also going badly for them in the south. Make sure to watch the entire video. It's going to be very interesting. But first, we'll start with the north, with the Sumy region. Yesterday, we received the first objective control data from our troops in Yunukovka. So what's the situation? There was a lot of information coming from Yunukovka, and even reports suggesting that the entire village had come under our control. But that turned out to be disinformation. The fighting in the village is ongoing, it hasn't stopped, and the village is not fully under Russian control. Zelensky decided to turn it into another fortress. So despite all kinds of statements, there had been no footage from the village. Yesterday, however, we received the first data confirming that at least the northern part of Yunukovka is under Russian control. Additionally, the area between this village and Yablonevka has been cleared. De facto, of course, our control in Yunukovka extends further. Our guys have definitely reached as far as the church. This is first-hand information, but again, no footage has been shown. So officially, we can only confirm full control over the northern part of the village. The rest remains a grey zone. Here, let me show it. This is how it looks. At least that's how American cartographers have drawn it. So the only area still fully under Ukrainian control is the southern part of the village, which, by the way, I already mentioned in yesterday's update. Yesterday, fighting also intensified in the area of Tyotkino and Novy Put. When was the last time you heard anything about a Ukrainian offensive on Tyotkino? After some people caused panic in early June, falsely claiming that Russian troops were surrounded and that the Ukrainian forces broke through into the center of Tyotkino, which I told you right away was a lie, everything went quiet. And that's because the Ukrainian forces were exhausted. In the end, our troops went on the offensive. This is not yet reflected on American maps, so let's switch briefly to a different one. Here we go. Yesterday, our fighters crossed the border, entered the village of Besilovka, and drove out the Ukrainian armed forces. So there was an escalation in the Tyotkino area, but this time it ended badly for the Ukrainians. They are no longer on the offensive, we are, and we're advancing not on the territory of the Kursk region, but already inside the Sumy region. So what's the result? They had been attacking Tyotkino since the beginning of May, lost a ton of equipment and many soldiers. I published dozens of videos on my Telegram channel showing how Ukrainian dead littered the area. But they achieved nothing. They couldn't take Tyotkino, they couldn't even properly enter it, only reaching one of the outer streets, and meanwhile, our guys managed to take control of a border village in just one day. Thanks to this, it will now be a bit easier for the guys holding Tyotkino. It's not a resort, of course, and definitely not a vacation. Things are still tough, but easier nonetheless. That's it for the Sumy and Kursk regions. Now let's move on to the major collapse of the Ukrainian forces on the eastern flank of Mirnograd, where things are going very badly for them this week. Before we get to our successful advance near Mirnograd, a few words about the Chasov Yar sector. First, there were claims that Chasov Yar and the nearby village of Nikolaevka, located west of the city, were under Russian control. I checked with our guys, that's not true. And probably that's why no footage of objective control has been shown. There were also reports from various frontline analysts that we had completely cleared the Shevchenko district. That's not true either. Fighting is still ongoing in that neighborhood. It is not under full control. Heavy battles continue there, and even 100 meters of progress is achieved with extreme difficulty. Additionally, our guys reported that Ukraine has brought in more drone operators to the area. So as it was, the Chasov Yar direction remains one of the hardest, if not the hardest, and it still is. As for the southern situation, the offensive there has stalled a bit. Over the past 24 hours, we managed to improve our positions west of the Dylivka station by about 360 meters. The situation is completely different on the Mirnograd sector. Here, the Ukrainian forces are clearly struggling. Take a look. This is already their second collapse in just a few days. In the first, we took control of 37 square kilometers. Now, another 23 square kilometers, that's 60 square kilometers in just the past few days. Very impressive. So what happened here? First, we cleared out the pocket between Mirnoy and Mirolubovka. Second, we took control of Nikolaevka and even presented footage as proof. Third, and probably the most important, columns of armored vehicles stormed into the urban-type settlement of Novo-Economic Noe. I've already told you that Novo-Economic Noe is a fairly large urban settlement with solid infrastructure. And as you can see even from the map, based on its location, it is the very last stronghold in the Ukrainian defense, protecting Mirnograd from the east. If it falls, the Ukrainian garrison in Mirnograd will be in trouble. And since the Russian army is also flanking the city from the north, it will be in serious trouble. During yesterday's assault, the overall depth of our advance reached nearly 9 kilometers, precisely 8.8 kilometers. And not only did we manage to reach Novo-Economic Noe, but we've also established a foothold in the eastern part of the settlement. Additionally, as you can see, we made some progress from the direction of Razin. The goal here is to enter Novo-Economic Noe from the north, but for now we've only reached the river. That river needs to be crossed to enter from the northern side. If we succeed, we'll be pressing the town from both the south and the north. In general, things will be heating up here in the coming days. I can tell you right now, the Ukrainian forces will fight fiercely for this town. That's a fact. We'll be closely monitoring this part of the front. And as I said earlier, the area of our advance over the past day on this particular sector alone totaled almost 23 square kilometers. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian armed forces continue to face problems in the southern part of the Donetsk region, which has become routine for them. The guys from the Vostok group are not giving them a single moment to rest. And honestly, they're doing the right thing. Just the day before yesterday, they took the village of Podubnoye, and already yesterday they entered the next village to the north, Tolstoye. Yesterday, our forces managed to break into the southern outskirts of the village, and the area between Tolstoy and Zvezda has been completely cleared. The advance here is more than 2 kilometers. Currently, fighting is still ongoing inside the village, but just look at its size. It's a very small village. There's practically nothing for the Ukrainian forces to hold on to. It's not Komar, and not even Podubnoye. So, today or tomorrow at the latest, Russian troops will most likely fully drive the Ukrainian forces out of the village and present objective control footage of the entire settlement. In addition, there have been reports from the area that we've also started advancing toward Mirnoye. And that's a much larger village than Tolstoy. It's located right here, to the south. In general, things are going steadily well for us here, and steadily bad for the Ukrainian armed forces. As for the Zaporizhia region, there are no major updates. There are 2 locations where fierce fighting continues, the village of Malinovka and the village of Kamenskoye. In both places, intense battles are underway. As soon as there's news, I'll definitely update you. Now, regarding the total result over the past 24 hours, 32.55 square kilometers have come under Russian control across the entire front. That's 32.55 square kilometers. Former Pentagon advisor Dan Caldwell warns that it will take years to rebuild U.S. arsenals after massive aid was provided to Kyiv. According to him, Washington is currently capable of producing only about 60 Stinger missiles per month, while more than 3,000 such systems have already been transferred to Ukraine. Millions of artillery shells have also been delivered. Caldwell believes that the U.S. defense industry has seriously deteriorated and that the Biden administration has driven the country's military reserves to a critical level. He called Donald Trump's decision to cut military aid to Kyiv a difficult but necessary step. Meanwhile, Trump has imposed 25% tariffs on Japan and South Korea. We must put an end to trade deficits caused by the tariff and non-tariff barriers of these countries. Therefore, we are introducing a 25% duty on all incoming goods, he said. However, Trump stated that the tariff would not affect companies producing goods within the U.S. Let us remind you, both countries are key U.S. allies in Asia. American influence in the region largely rests on them. Nevertheless, Trump didn't spare them and cynically announced the tariffs on a Monday. Market turmoil is now expected in both countries. We'll see how Japan and South Korea react. China has already proposed to its neighbors that they respond to Trump's move jointly. Japan has even threatened to start dumping US bonds. So now we'll see how serious those threats really are. Russia insists on legally binding guarantees in any future peace agreements on Ukraine, said Sergei Lavrov. A sustainable settlement is impossible without eliminating the root causes of the conflict. Ukraine must return to its statehood foundations, Lavrov stressed. Moscow's key demands are international recognition of the new regions, Ukraine's rejection of NATO membership, a return to non-aligned and non-nuclear status, guarantees for the rights of Russian-speaking citizens in territory controlled by Kiev, commitments to demilitarization, lifting of all anti-Russian sanctions, withdrawal of lawsuits against Russia, and unfreezing of Russian assets in the West. Lavrov also pointed out that Ukraine's neutral status was enshrined in the 1990 Declaration of Sovereignty and that its principles were included in the Ukrainian constitution. Additionally, he stated that multipolarity is not a choice, but an objective reality, replacing the outdated neoliberal model built on neocolonial practices. He made these remarks at the BRICS summit currently taking place in Brazil. Moreover, the Russian foreign minister emphasized that the global majority is interested in creating development mechanisms independent from the West. BRICS is seen as the driving force of this transformation, and its expansion poses no threat to its function. The bloc's potential is only beginning to unfold. At a BRICS summit press conference, Lavrov also urged the IAEA to take a responsible approach to evaluating Iran's nuclear program. He stressed that the agency must provide guarantees that fabricated narratives will not be used to politicize the situation. Russia is ready to assist Iran in enriching uranium to the level sufficient for a peaceful nuclear program, Lavrov said. After leaving the Government Advisory Board, DOJ, Elon Musk repeatedly criticized actions by the White House and Congress. He especially lashed out against the massive, beautiful bill. In his view, the law violates Trump's campaign promise not to increase the national debt. On July 4th, US Independence Day, Musk launched a poll on X, formerly Twitter, where over 65% of the 1,250,000 participants supported the idea of creating a new political party. After that, he announced the beginning of efforts to form a third political force, an alternative to Democrats and Republicans. Musk has set a fairly achievable goal: to win 2 to 3 seats in the Senate and 8 to 10 in the House of Representatives in order to block harmful initiatives. The challenge will lie in Musk's complex personality and legal hurdles. Registering a party requires a separate process in each state. But if Musk succeeds, the Republicans' chances of winning the 2026 U.S. congressional elections will diminish. There have been attempts to form a third party in U.S. history. For example, Theodore Roosevelt's Progressive Party in 1912 garnered significant votes but didn't last long. In any case, Musk's initiative could increase internal turbulence and distract Washington from foreign policy. I'm saddened to watch Elon Musk completely go off the rails. He's basically turned into a disaster over the past 5 weeks. He even wants to start a third political party, despite the fact that such parties have never succeeded in the United States. The system clearly isn't designed for them, Donald Trump wrote on his social media platform. All third parties can do is cause confusion and chaos, and we already have enough of that with the radical left Democrats, who have lost both confidence and their minds, Trump continued. The Republicans, on the other hand, are a well-oiled machine that just passed the largest bill of its kind in our nation's history. It's a great bill, but unfortunately for Elon, it repeals the ridiculous electric vehicle mandate that would have forced everyone to buy EVs in a short time frame. I was strongly opposed to it from the beginning. Now people are free to buy whatever they want: gasoline cars, hybrids that work very well, or new technologies as they emerge. No more EV mandates. Thanks for watching, friends. Stay informed, stay sharp, and see you in the next report. Take care.